So this is Tom, and just stopped him on his bike, and he's agreed to be interviewed about his beliefs. So my main question I start off with is just kind of like a can of worms kind of question.
Sure.
What do you think happens after this life?
Oh man, I don't know. So I'm an English. It's my first year being an English teacher.
Oh.
So I've read about this. Some of it, some religious and some not religious. I don't know. I do like to think that there's like some kind of unity that happens after this life. And there's some, I don't know, I don't mean necessarily like it was all a riddle and then like the riddle is revealed and you understand how everything made sense, but I do like the idea that after this life you get a sense that you were a part of a whole in a way that you usually don't when you're alive. Because when you're alive you're always just doing your own thing, and it's hard, even when you're having conversations with other people, I think, to really connect. So I like the idea that we sort of all realize at the end that we were all part of the same thing.
Okay.
Which I think occasionally happens during life, but maybe not often.
Yeah. So we get a taste of it in life at times.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure. I sort of believe less, or I think less about the idea of like punishment or reward after the end of life. I don't know. I imagine that that if you are greeted by some higher power, then the higher power is understanding instead of being punitive or angry in some way.
Yeah. So would you say you do believe in God or a higher power?
Yeah, I think so.
What makes you? What would be the main reason you do believe? What do you think?
I don't know. I guess because I want to, and I think that it. I don't know. I think it fits. I think it fits like a humble life and a life that that involves understanding other people. I think that it gives us. I don't know. It gives you a framework for explaining why you want to be kind to other people and why you want to understand other people. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why you think that good things are possible in the world. I think it's a useful thing to believe.
Yeah. Did you grow up with any kind of a religious tradition?
Yeah, my family went to an Episcopalian church until I was 10 or so, and then we switched to a UCC church.
Was that high or low Episcopalian? I think there's like two different kinds. Like one's more formal and one's more informal, as far as what I know of Episcopalian.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know that we left because it was a little too formal for us, but that may not necessarily mean that it was high.
The high one.
I kind of think it was low. It didn't feel that formal.
Okay. And as far as then you went to a UCC church, and then did you continue leaving home, going out on your own? Did you continue going to church yourself or being involved, or
not regularly? Every once in a while I would read something on my own, or I would try to read the Bible on my own, but it's intermittent. It's not something that I've done on a regular basis.
Now, as far as that whole idea of punishment and reward and stuff like that, do you feel like if that was true, would you be one of those people going to heaven or deserving hell? The Bible does talk about, as a matter of fact, Jesus talked more about heaven and hell than anyone else in the Bible, and he didn't really leave room in the middle. It's so there's I don't want to say the good, but there's people who are children of the kingdom, I guess, and people of the kingdom of God, and there's people that are not, Where do you think you would fall in that? If today was your last day of life and you find out that, yes, there is a judgment day and you are standing before God, what do you think he would say?
I don't know. I think I've certainly spent a lot of time thinking about myself and seeking my own pleasure, putting myself before other people. I haven't, I've tried to be kind to the people that I know, but I certainly haven't, given myself away to a cause in the way that Jesus did. I haven't,
But you're a teacher, you must get some points for that, right?
Sure, I hope a couple points.
Are you a high school teacher?
I'm a high school teacher,
I am too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What do you teach?
Social studies.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Where do you teach?
I'm at John Hancock High School.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
Are you in the CPS?
Yeah, I'm at Lindblom.
Oh, right, real close to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've considered riding bike to work, but I don't want to be all sweaty for my classes. How do you do that? Do you change clothes or something?
Yeah, I have a collared shirt that I carry with me, and then I have a t-shirt and a long sleeve shirt underneath. I haven't really figured that out. But I usually get there. I get there at like 6:30 in the morning, so I've got some time before classes start.
Yeah, that's something I find hard to do.
That entails an early wake up time.
Yeah. So you say, what did you say? English? You teach English?
Yeah.
And you're covering some different philosophical works in your English classes. That's what's made you think about it lately. You were saying, or?
Oh yeah, I guess I just meant that I do some reading on my own, and I guess I explain that by saying that I'm an English teacher. We haven't really covered anything that's philosophical in that way.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah. I find it's hard to teach, like history without referring to religion. I think we're doing our students a disservice because it's so much a part of every culture of the world, And
Absolutely.
So it's definitely something we discuss.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big part of literature too.
Yeah.
Also.
Do you feel like you have a good understanding of Christianity? Did you have like a confirmation of some sort, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was confirmed in the UCC church, and then I was part of a puppet troupe during high school, but I was no longer doing. I mean, I don't know how much I was learning during the puppet troupe. I think everything that I have is sort of secondhand and indirect.
Yeah.
No, I don't feel like I do a good job of explaining it to somebody else, or even to myself. Really. Yeah.
Do you a central? And I actually grew up not understanding the central idea. I grew up Lutheran, and I knew about we did go to Sunday school. I did go to confirmation, but I ended up thinking, okay, we got all these different people in the Bible. There's Moses and David and Daniel and Jesus and Paul, and I didn't understand that Jesus was kind of like the central character of the Bible.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if if you missed out on that too, like I did, but what do you think would be Jesus' purpose? What's he all about as far as your understanding at this point?
I guess my understanding is that his purpose was to redeem a world that had gone way off track. So God had already sent. I guess I don't even know the mechanism of his sending things, but there were the 10 Commandments. I think that he revealed things to other people in other ways, but we had directions from God.
Prophecies, there's prophets throughout the Old Testament.
Yeah. So we had some instructions about how we were supposed to be behaving and what sort of world it was supposed to be, and we were not following any of the instructions. And so Jesus was sent to, I guess, to maybe to restate the message and also to save us by his ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
I do not fully understand that.
How
I don't
does
really
that
know.
work?
Yeah,
right.
I don't know why that was the only way that could have been done.
I keep thinking, if I was a space alien and had no exposure to Christianity, and I came down on Earth and I went to, say, a church, and I knew they were worshiping something, and if I saw the cross up in front, and I knew that it was some sort of a torture device, I would really have some major questions. What is this religion based on? And even if I knew that it was based on a person who died 2,000 years ago, what's he got to do with us today?
Right.
And then if someone said, well, he died so we could be forgiven, I would be like, I still don't connect the dots,
Right.
Why would people be forgiven for someone who, died so long ago?
Right. Yeah.
And why is that necessary?
Right. Yeah.
So it's
Have
pretty
you figured
much
that out though?
Well, I definitely have some. I think I can kind of explain it kind of quickly. So we believe, especially you read the Bible, you believe God is loving and kind and wants the best for us.
Yeah.
But he also has different aspects to his personality. So one of those aspects is that he's he loves justice, and we would want to believe in a God who is just, like who's fair, and we wouldn't want, for example, child molesters, God just to say, okay, you did all these horrible things in your life, but come on into heaven because I'm just a nice guy, right?
Yeah.
So there's different ways of looking at God, and that's kind of like the idea that he's like this kindly old grandfather that just kind of pats us on the back and says, boys will be boys, and lets us go.
Right.
So the Bible actually teaches that God is just and requires a punishment when the law is broken. He doesn't give the law and say, okay, this is what's going to happen, and then just let you go just because you're sorry, or just because you ask for forgiveness. There must be some kind of a consequence or a punishment. So, and that's kind of what justice is about. Like even in a human courtroom, a good judge, his job is to make sure justice is served. So a good judge would make sure that there's a punishment that fits the crime. Now, if even in a human courtroom, if let's say someone had committed murder, and the judge says, okay, that'll be a $25 fine.
Yeah.
If you're the family of the person who was killed, you'd be like, that's not justice.
Sure.
So that's why the punishment must fit the crime.
Right.
So when we sin, when we break God's laws, we do it with the idea that, we know good and evil. The whole thing about Adam and Eve, and they were given the knowledge of good and evil. So everybody has a conscience.
Right.
I don't know what to say about people with mental problems or whatever, but in general, everybody has a conscience.
Yeah.
And so we know right from wrong, and yet we still do the wrong thing. And that's kind of like the main problem of humanity is, how can we have a relationship with God when we've been breaking his rules and not treating him like he is God to us?
Right. Yeah.
We're treating him like his commandments are optional,
Yeah.
and we can pick and choose which ones we want to follow, and basically like we're the gods, not God.
Right.
So justice demands that there must be a punishment for the crime. Well, the Bible says, God is holy, and the punishment would be, if we're offending a holy God who's infinitely holy, there would be kind of like a punishment for that. It would be an infinite punishment, which is where the whole idea of hell comes in. That it's not just a temporary slap on the wrist, or if we were given 10 years in purgatory, which some people believe in, you'd say, well, why not 11? Isn't God worth that much? No, he's infinitely holy, so it must be an infinite punishment. So the bad news is we don't deserve heaven. I think it sounds like you have a sense of yourself enough to know that you're not a perfect person. You
certainly not.
Definitely. So I think you'd agree with me that I don't deserve heaven. What did I do to deserve that? It's kind of hard to imagine that we deserve hell, but again, it's, if the punishment fits the crime, then yes, we would. But then God says, in his mercy, like in his justice, he says we deserve hell. In his mercy, he says, I will take the punishment for you in the person of my son Jesus. And so, to me, it's like the good news that Jesus took my punishment for me doesn't make sense without the bad news that I actually deserve that punishment.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I think our human pride just doesn't want to accept, that we're that bad that we would deserve that kind of a punishment. Yeah. It's like I don't want to think I'm that bad of a person. I think I'm a pretty good person. And so part of the gospel message is we have to receive the idea that yes, we are sinful and we don't deserve heaven. We do deserve hell. That's the hard part. The good part is, but Jesus took that punishment for us, So I don't know what do you think about that so far? I realize you're nodding because you understand me, but not necessarily because you agree, and that's fine.
Well, I'm not sure. And so now does I don't know what all branches of Christianity believe, but there are branches that believe that all you have to do is believe fully that happened.
Yeah.
And then you're saved.
Yeah.
Other branches still think different things.
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of people, like the Bible the whole idea is that we can't save ourselves. So no matter how many good things we do, it doesn't make up for the bad we've done. The good we do, we should do anyway.
Right.
The bad we done, we do it totally knowing that it's wrong, So as far as like just saying, like some will say, well, just say, I believe and you're saved. The Bible actually says faith without works is dead. Faith.
Yeah.
You probably heard and remember that.
Yeah.
So is it enough just to mouth the words? Not if, like I can look back on my life and I can see that, okay, my faith has resulted in God is changing me over time, right? So it's the change and the good works that I feel like I'm starting to do. That's not what saves me, but it's more like evidence that I am saved.
Right.
And so a lot of people think, well, no, it's my good deeds. If I do enough good deeds, then I'll go to heaven, right? They're putting the cart before the horse, So it's the good deeds is more a result or a reaction to, wow, Jesus died. He paid my punishment for me. How can I respond? I want to somehow show him gratitude, Right. And so Jesus says, if you love me, you'll keep my commands. And so, what are his commands? I guess I better read the Bible and find out,
Yeah.
And so that's, in a nutshell, it's kind of like what came first, the good deeds leading to salvation or salvation leading to good deeds.
Right.
So, yeah. So, and I think that's probably like the key area where people get it mixed up, as far as, because like most people I'll talk to want to believe that they're good enough to deserve heaven.
Right.
And Jesus set a good example, and I know I could never live up to that example, but I'm a pretty good person compared to other people, and
right.
And so I think God would welcome me into heaven,
right.
And so
I'm not so bad.
Yeah. And so until we can really realize that, we are, and that's why Jesus died, was to take our punishment in our place. I mean, that's God's grace. We didn't deserve it. It's like grace is like an undeserved gift, So, so I received that, as a young man in my late teens, and I've been, like wanting to follow Christ. It's like he's changed my heart around, not instantly, and he's not through with me yet, and I got a lot to learn, but it's kind of a process. It's a relationship. It's not so much a religion,
Right.
That's why, like so many traditions are so formal, and it's like, do you really want to, like talk to God? For example, talk to God in prayers that are somebody else wrote, and you just memorized them, and you're just
right.
your heart's not really into it or whatever.
Right.
At the same time, some of those prayers can be helpful, to provide a little guide. So
a starting point.
Yeah. But I think it starts with those kinds of things, and it should lead us into just a relationship with God. I mean, if God is alive, and if Jesus rose from the dead and has the power to to overcome death like that, then we can be in a relationship with him. It's not just worshiping someone who did something in the past. So,
and it does it, I mean, I've certainly prayed before. It's never, maybe I've never done it enough, but it feels like in some way a conversation or a relationship.
I remember the first time that I ever had a conversation with God. And because again, growing up with kind of a more formal religious background, it was always like trying to remember the prayers I'm supposed to say. And I just went out for a walk. I wasn't like folding my hands and bowing my head. And it was in the dark, so I didn't feel so weird. But just talking to God and just kind of giving him my heart, And one good thing that really helps me, and I think helps a lot of people who read the Bible, is the Psalms are full of, if you think of the Psalms as prayers, they're full of emotion. And there's times when the psalmist is angry at God and he's complaining, or he's he's just pouring out his heart to God. And that's the kind of, God can handle our anger, what he doesn't put up with, I think, is our dishonesty. So if we're going to like put on a false front and pretend everything's okay when it's not, I think God would rather have our honesty with him. So and that's like Jesus gave the Lord's Prayer, I think, more as a model, like kind of an outline to how our prayers should be.
Right.
It's not just repeat this prayer and everything is fine.
Right. Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you so you're not involved in a church right now, or?
I'm not.
I go to a church that's citywide. Like we've got about 20 different locations.
Okay.
And I know you said you live in Logan Square.
Uh-huh.
There's one in Logan Square.
Yeah.
And it's called New Life. You ever heard of New Life?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah. Where?
You've probably seen
look it
like
up,
the
sure.
main. I'm going to give you I have like a local. That's the logo.
Thanks.
You've probably seen that around. Now that's for one right around here that I give out to people. But you can check out their website, and it gives all the different locations, and you can listen to their messages. Like everyone wants to check it out before they go.
Yeah.
But there's locations all over, and I really recommend it.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
and I would say the main difference between a New Life or churches that are more non-denominational, it usually is their authority is not so much their traditions that have built up over hundreds of years, but the authority is the Bible, and they try to keep things real simple, based on the Bible, and some traditions I think are biblical, but the final authority is not whether we've been doing it this way for hundreds of years, but is it in the Bible, and is it based on the Bible, and so. Oh, I got a friend that's trying to call me, so.
Got it.
There he is again. I'll call him back. But Tom, it's good talking to you.
Nice to talk to you, Jeff. Yeah.